Okay. Hey y'all, it's Jourdan here again. We're going to get started with our craft today. We are going to make a door hanger that we can change out the flowers with it. So I'm just going to go through my materials first. I have this wooden sign I got. It came with a string on it. I found it at Hobby Lobby. You can use this, or if you have a scrap piece of wood, something you can add a string to. Well, this is more like twine, but something you can add a hanger to so you can hang it up. You can do that. Anything really that you want to hang up, you can use. I've also got burlap. I got this at Hobby Lobby too, and I got a half a yard, and honestly, it's way too much material. So we'll have to find another craft that uses burlap. Then I found these little wooden tags that I'm going to use. It came in a pack of, I think, 5 or 6. Got that at Hobby Lobby. We're going to use that. Then I've got some ribbon I had at home. You can use any color for this. And then I've got some flowers, and we actually got these at Dollar Tree. So check out Dollar Tree. They have a good selection of flowers, usually pretty seasonal. And then I've got my acrylic paint with me I'm going to use, and then just my usual paint brushes and my glue sticks and my glue gun. Now today I did bring my hair dryer so that when I paint my board, I can dry it off quicker. So if you're doing it with me, and you have a way you can dry it off, then you can use that, and you don't have to paint the board. What I'm doing is, so let me hold it back up. My wood and my burlap were kind of close in color, so I want to paint my board so that it stands out a little more. But if you like that natural wood color, you can leave it just like that. So the first thing I'm going to do is start painting so that it'll dry while I'm doing the other things. And I just use a paper plate so I can throw it away whenever I'm finished. Doesn't really matter what kind of paintbrush you use. I've got these foam brushes, and then I've also got what I call regular brushes. So I'm going to use those later whenever I paint my welcome. Let me get a little more paint on the plate. And you don't have to worry about painting the back of your sign if you don't want to, because no one's going to see it. It's going to be hanging up. And just going across, I'm just going to start adding my paint across. So if you're doing it with me, feel free to go ahead and start painting. I'm not going to do really a thick coat because I just want to get a little bit color on to make the board pop behind that burlap. And it'll dry a little quicker since I don't have a thick coat on there. Something you can also do if you want it to be a little more, I guess rustic is the word, you could paint it, and then when your paint dries, get some sandpaper and just slowly go or lightly go over it, and that will take some of the paint off so you got a little bit of the wood showing underneath. And if you're going out to buy materials after you watch this video, one thing to think about is Hobby Lobby has different aisles on sale each week. So we made sure that when we went that the wood section was on sale, and I think it was 40% off. So that worked out. We didn't have to pay full price for our wooden sign. And that was the most expensive thing that we bought in this project. So just something to think about. If you've got a scrap piece of wood laying around, you can always use that. Anything you want hanging up on your door or wherever you're going to hang it. And you can see I'm just painting through very lightly. Well, white's a pretty solid color on there. It might be dry by the time I finish the other things, actually. I might not even have to use the hair dryer. Tell you, I underestimated how much paint I needed. I didn't put much on my plate at all. Haven't painted anything this size in a while, so that's what we'll call it. And I'm not going to paint the back of mine since no one's going to see it anyway. Just going to paint the front, and I'll probably do the sides because I got a little bit on the side anyway. So I'll go through the side. If you wanted to, you could sand this board before you started painting, but mine's pretty smooth, so I wouldn't feel a need to sand it, but that's always something you can do as well. But mine looks like it's drying pretty quick, so this board is soaking it up. Make sure you've got some paper towels close by, because if you're like me, you're gonna make a bit of a mess. So it seems like that's one of the greatest things I do when I'm making things, make messes. And in the very middle, if it's not exactly covered, then that's fine too, because we're gonna have burlap over it anyway. So that's okay if it's not exactly covered with the paint in the middle. All right. So this kind of soaked it up a lot. You can, well, I don't know if you can see, but it is white now. Just a very thin coat. If you wanted to do another coat, you can. I think this will look fine with the burlap in front of it now. And the thin coat's going to dry quicker. So, I was trying to decide if I wanted to do this side. I think I'm just going to leave it like this. I don't see any reason to, what I was talking about was doing the sides down here. I don't really see a reason to do that, but if you want to, feel free to do it. I'm trying to make sure, I keep leaning forward and getting my head out of the camera. So I'm trying to make sure y'all can see me, but in the bottom down here as well, if you wanted to do that, you can paint that too. So I'm just going to sit this to the side so that it can dry. And I've got a cup of water as well, so I can put my paintbrushes in it whenever I'm finished. So we can wash those off. Next, I have some skinny paint brushes, and I'm going to paint welcome, or I mean, you can really paint whatever you want to. You can put home sweet home, your name. It's just going to be a greeting that's going to be hanging on our board when we're done. And I'm going to use the small brush to paint it. If you wanted to use a marker like a Sharpie, some type of permanent marker, you could do it with that too. That would work. And I've just got black. I just figured if I'm changing the flowers each season in this, it'll probably be easier or look better to just put it in black. And if you don't want to write anything, you want to put, just some design, or you don't even have to put this on here. You could do maybe your house number, last name. I think I said that one. But just to add a little bit to it, and I'm just going to draw it across the middle of mine. Again, we got these at Hobby Lobby, and it came in a pack of like 6, and there were different designs, different outlines. So we'll have to find something to use these for later too. And hopefully I can write this and it look pretty decent. Try to get it in a straight line. So a marker might be a little easier when writing this out, but whatever you choose to do. I'm just doing it very lightly, and then I'm going to go back over it again so that you can see it a little bit better. Make sure you spell it right. I just had to look through, make sure I'm spelling it right. I don't want to have a word up on my front door that's not spelled right. I just have a hard time when I'm writing, keeping the letters the same size. It's my biggest struggle. And keeping the word in a straight line. That's another problem I have. So you can see it's on there very light. I'm getting ready to go back over it so you can see it again, but I just wrote welcome on mine. I think I got it pretty straight. To not have measured it or anything like that, it looks okay. And I'm just going through filling in those letters so it looks better on my sign. And I'm doing all the paint things first so that they can dry while I'm cutting the rest of my materials and getting everything else ready. So hopefully I don't have to use the hair dryer. I don't know about y'all, but I don't like the sound of a hair dryer. So trying to avoid that. My E looks a little funky now, but it'll be all right. Almost finished with my letters, and then I'll show it to you again. I think my O is really big compared to the rest of these letters, so it adds character. That's a good thing about crafting, making things homemade. Every single one will look different, and it's all okay. Okay, last one. See if I can make this E look a little better than the last one. All right, so I think that looks pretty good. So you can see I have mine up here, and I bought the one with the hole in it. You could always get just a plain one and drill a hole in it if you want. This was just easier because it already had it in there. And it came with a variety pack. So that was a plus as well. I'm going to move my paint out of the way so I don't get any paint on anything that's not supposed to have it on. And next I am going to get out my burlap and move out some of this stuff. So like I told you, I got a half a yard at Hobby Lobby, and I have so much burlap here. So there is by no means that you would need this much. We probably should have measured our board first, but it's all right. Mine looks like it's drying pretty good. It's going to be plenty wide just in what they cut. So I'm just going to kind of guess here at how big I want it. I'm going to leave the width what it was, and let me see. If I line it up beside it, I'm just going to, what I did was put my sign right beside my burlap so I can cut it just a little bit smaller than what the width of the sign is, because we're going to be folding it up under anyway, and it's not going to cover the whole sign. So it's fine if it's not quite exactly cut straight to begin with, or doesn't, it just, I don't know. We'll cut it down to the size we need it. And this burlap was a little tricky to cut. I had to practice on it earlier. I had to make sure I got it all the way up in my scissors to make sure it was would cut. So let's see. It's still a little wet, so I'm gonna give it some time. But what we're gonna be doing is, if you don't have any burlap, you could really use any type of fabric you want. I even saw where someone they had like a burlap bag, and they split the bag in half and just used one side of the bag. And we're going to be gluing it onto here to make a spot for our flowers to go in. So when we glue it on, show you, our burlap is going to be however big you want it to be. I mean, it can be small, it can take up most of the board, whatever you want it to be. But we're going to glue it down the two sides and then at the bottom. So the top is going to be open, and then we can stick our flowers in to change them by the season. So there is no right or wrong measurement wise for your burlap. Now, what I'm going to do, instead of just gluing it down to each one on each side, I'm going to fold it under about a ½ inch all the way down after I measure it. And I'm going to get my hot glue gun and glue that piece down. And I'm going to do that on all three sides. That way it'll be kind of like they call it something in sewing, not a straight edge, I think it is. It's going to look kind of like it's hemmed up, I think they call it in sewing. I don't know. I'm new to sewing, so I don't know all the terminology. I'm going to go ahead and plug in my glue gun so I can get it heating up, because it looks like I'm not going to have to dry it. Looks like it'll be pretty dry. Yeah, there we go. So that way my glue gun can be warming up while I am cutting my burlap. So let me Trying to decide which way I want to do it. Probably it doesn't really matter, but I'm going to do it this way so that I will only have to cut one side. So I want mine to be, I'm going to cover a good bit of my board, but make sure there's still white showing on each side. And so I will fold this side under. I'm just kind of measuring, talking out loud here. So I think this will be a good size for mine. And then it's going to be folded under again. So I know where to cut it. So that piece I just cut, I'm pretty much cutting it in half again. That's why I said it doesn't really matter where you cut it, because we're gonna size it down again anyway. And like I said, you can use any material. Just know, like I would hang this on my front door. So I want to make sure, you know what your door looks like, if it's getting rained on or out in the weather, if it's covered, that type of thing. So just be considerate of that when you are picking out your fabric. So next I'm going to go around to 3 of the sides and I'm going to fold it down about 1/4 of an inch, 1/2 inch. And when my glue gun gets warm, I'm going to just go along here and I'm going to glue that piece down so that it's not just because I don't know about y'all, but if you look at mine up close, I'm not a very good cutter. So I don't want that to be showing on my board. So if I fold it under, then that kind of gets rid of that crazy cut that I had there. So let me check. Ooh, yep, it's ready. So I folded that piece over. I'm just going to go through with my glue, put a little bit across. I'm just doing a little bit of a zigzag. Again, you fold it however big you want it to be folded over. Trying to make sure I get it before it all dries. And be careful pressing it over. Make sure you don't burn yourself. And I'm just going to hold that down for a second, make sure it gets good and secure on there. And that's how we cover up our crazy cutting skills, so that it shows, it looks, see, that looks a whole lot better now than all those crazy fringes I had up earlier. And so that will be the bottom part, on the bottom part of my sign. And I'm going to do that again on the sides. Again, however big you want it to be. Let me make sure now that I've got my size picked out that it's going to look good. So, okay, I think this will be good. And I like the white behind it. I think it's really gonna show up good on here. So I'm gonna do the same thing again on the sides. And I like to fold it over and kind of make a little bit of a crease and then get my glue out so that I can do it quickly. Let me add another stick here. All right. So just going down the edge like I did earlier, I'm gonna do a little bit of a zigzag. Make sure I get the whole side covered there that I'm folding over. Again, be careful, make sure you don't burn yourself. And those little strings, we will take care of those in a minute. Look, and I touched it twice with my fingers and it does not feel good. So I've glued myself to my burlap now. I got it down though, so that's all that matters. Hot glue guns are a great thing, but they can be messy and painful. So we'll get it. It's easier to pull the little strings from the glue gun off once they've dried, I think. So let me get them all off my hands now, since I decided to put my hands in the hot wet glue after I told y'all to be careful with that. So you can see now I've got 2 of my sides done, and I'm going to do the other side. Again, just folding it over, creating that crease so that when we get ready to glue, hopefully this side goes smoother than the last side. But we got it down, so that was all that matters. Okay. And pressing it down, being careful. I'm really saying that for myself now. All right. So now I'm going to go back, and any of the little strings from the glue gun, I am going to take those off. If you wanted to do the top one, let me see where you can see it. So I've done the two sides and the bottom. If you wanted to do the top piece down, you can do that as well. I just want to leave mine open, but if you want to close it down, you can. I am going to add a little piece of glue here because I guess I didn't get my corner. Make sure that's nice and down. There are a few pieces of my burlap coming up, so I'm just going to cut those pieces so they're not sticking out later. And I got a few at the top I want to cut off. So I'm just going to kind of go in here and, well, I pulled it a little bit too much there. I'm just going to pull it on the rest of the way. I've already committed now. Then I'll cut it. So there's what it looks like so far. So we've got our sides folded over, and looks like this is pretty dry. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do it when it's laying down, but I want to show y'all what it's going to look like first. So I'm just going to place this. I'll make sure it's straight before I do it. Wherever you want on the board. I'm going to put mine a little lower so there's a little more space at the top. Now, when we do this, we want to make sure we glue not in the middle, but just along the sides again, like where we just did, because what we're going to do is we're going to have this open to where we can slide our flowers in there. So don't glue across the top and don't glue in the middle, or we won't be able to change anything. You also want to make sure you don't pull it super tight, because if you pull it tight and it's flat, then it's barely going to open at the top and we're not going to be able to put anything in there. I did just think one thing I'm going to do before I glue mine down is I've got my ribbon to create a hanger so that it looks like a bag. So when this gets on here, I'm gonna have a piece of ribbon on here that's gonna hang down just like a bag would. That way it'll look more realistic than just a piece of burlap on here. Just add a little bit to it. Again, you don't have to do that if you don't want to. What I'm gonna do is with my scissors, hopefully it'll be sharp enough. I'm just gonna create two holes. One, I'm trying to make them even, one here and here. And then that's where I'll tie my ribbon through to create just like if you had a gift bag. So let's see. This looks like a good spot here. And my scissors went through pretty easily, but I'm gonna cut it just to make the hole a little bit bigger because my ribbon is kind of thick. So again, I just cut a little, I don't know if you can see, I've cut a little slit in there. And then I'm just going to try to make this one over here even with that. Let's see, it's a couple inches in. Try to get the same distance down as well. And I'm just going to poke my scissors through and cut a little bit of a slit there. All right. So that should be, I'm gonna check with my ribbon, see if it'll fit through easily. If not, then I'm gonna cut a bigger hole. Yeah, I'm gonna cut a bigger hole so that I don't have to tug on it while it's already down on the board. And see, my ribbon is kind of thick, wide. So if you have skinny ribbon, and that's fine. That's what will determine the hole. And that went through pretty good. So let me check the other one. I'm glad I decided to do this before I put it on the board. All right, so that looks good. I'm gonna move my scissors out of the way. And then like I showed you earlier, we're just gonna get ready to glue that on. I'm doing mine a little lower down. Like I said, I want a little more space at the top and try to make sure it's even on the sides. That looks good. I wish I could just leave it like that, but I got to take it back off now to put the glue on it. So with the glue, again, I'm just going to go around the edge and I'm going to try to do it kind of fast to make sure I get it all the way on. I think I'm just going to do the sides and then I'm going to put the sides on and then I'll go back and glue across the bottom. Might regret that later, but that's what I'm going to do. So being very careful. Again, we want to make sure it's kind of pulled tight, but not so tight that we can't lift it up later in the center. So I'm push those down. Looks pretty even. I like that one. So I'm just pressing down the sides, making sure I got those on good and secure. Make sure, especially at the corner. And this is what I'm talking about. So you don't want it to be super tight, like I kind of made mine, but we're gonna make it work. So I pulled it kind of tight, but I know they're not gonna fly out. Let's see. I just won't be able to stick anything with a really thick stem down in there, but it's still gonna work. So just be careful about that. I was so worried about getting it straight, I didn't even think about that. Now I'm gonna go across the bottom and glue this part down so that nothing falls out of the bottom of it. And can't decide if I want to go across the burlap or the board. I'm just going to go across the board. Need another glue stick. I'm going to go across the board where the burlap would be. Just doing a little bit of a squiggly line here. Make sure I cover it. As long as you don't put it in the middle, then it'll be all right, because we don't want the middle glued down, so we can't put any flowers in there. I'm just going to press it down. Then I'm going to go around, make sure the sides are good and secure on there, especially in the corner areas. Make sure the corners are good. This one looks pretty good. The bottom. All right. So it should look like this now. And then we've got our holes. We're going to add our ribbon to it, and we're almost done. So this, you can see this doesn't take very long. I'm going to unplug my glue gun before I forget, so I don't have hot glue going everywhere. I'm just going to move that out of the way. And then for my ribbon, again, this part is optional. What I'm going to do is I'm going to stick my ribbon through the burlap, and then I'm just going to tie a little knot in it so it doesn't pull back out. And I'm not going to cut it yet because I'm not sure exactly how long I want it. So I'm going to stick the ribbon through. I'm going to kind of fold it so it'll fit through a little easier. And then I pulled it out a little bit farther. I'm going to tie a knot in it. I might have to do 2 knots depending on how thick it is. I'll probably do 2 just in case. So I'm going to tie 2 knots in it. And then when I pull it, it's not really going to be pulled on, but now you can see how the handle is going to look. So then I've got this side, this will be pushed down in there. So we won't have to worry about seeing that. And then you can make it however big you want it. And we're going to hook it on over here. Now, if you want a smaller one, that's fine, or a bigger one. But before we stick it through, we've got to add our little welcome tag. So let me cut it first, cut my ribbon. I think I want mine to be, I think this will look good. So I'm going to cut it a little bit farther. And if I have excess, if it's a little bigger, it's okay. Just got to remember that I'm tying a knot in there too. So now my welcome sign is dry. So I'm going to stick my ribbon through the tag. Make sure you've got it the right way so the tag isn't backwards on here. Let me stretch my ribbon out. So that is how I want it. This one, I'm gonna have to fold my ribbon way down to be able to fit through this hole, but I tried it and it worked. So it worked off camera. Hopefully it works on camera. Let me cut the ends where it's a little frayed. Okay. If I could just get a little piece of it, I could pull it. There we go. All right. And so you can see now, kind of all coming together, and we'll be able to tie it on, and you can put this down in the middle, on the side, wherever you want it. So I'm just going to put it in the middle for now, and I'm going to stick my ribbon through my other hole in the burlap. Well, I said I was. There we go. And then I'm gonna go ahead and tie my 2 knots again on this side, and I'm gonna pull it tight so I have plenty of space to work with. So let's tie this one. And it's not like there's gonna, that's way too close to the middle. I gotta get my knot closer to the end. Hang on a second. All right. There's nothing actually gonna be pulling on this handle, so it doesn't have to be a super big knot. This is just gonna help hold our tag on. So I've got my 2 knots. I'm gonna tuck that piece in like we did on the other side. Straighten it up a little bit. So you see, we've got this, we can do it to the side, the middle, either way, like I was saying. Now, the last thing we have to do is add our flowers in. And I like this one because, like I said, I got these at Dollar Tree. We just went and picked up a few fun colors, and you can change these out by the season. So whatever, you can change the arrangement. If you don't like it today, you can change it tomorrow. I'm gonna put the white in the middle. We might have to cut the stems off a little bit. So you see, we'll just place them in however you want, and it will just be hanging up on your door. I just want to see how full it's gonna look without cutting any of the stems off. Just gonna kind of fluff it up a little bit. And I put the first one in straight down, and then I'm putting the others kind of to the side. And you can see how this looks like a bag. We've got us a nice bag that we made and put the flowers in, and every season you can change it out. You could do real flowers if you want. I don't know how you'd keep them alive with the water, but you know, if you found a pretty flower in your yard that just bloomed and you wanted in for the day, that would be something fun too. If your stems are too long, just make sure you cut them off before you put them in. And then, like I said earlier, mine already had the string attached to it. But if not, this is just a piece of twine on with a staple gun. So if you have those resources and you have a scrap piece of wood, you can add a piece of twine to it. And there you have it. We have our door changer, or our door hanger with flowers that you can change by the season. So I hope you like it, and I would love to see yours. If you, when you finish yours, if you want to send a picture, you can always email it to Holly, who is the one who sent the link to you, or you can send it to me. We're at the Enrichment Center. So if you need our email addresses, you can call and we'll be happy to give it to you. And I would love to see yours. Everyone have a great day.